And welcome to Wise Guys. These guys know sports. Here live on the Worldwide Sports Network on this Monday, May the 15th. In the house with your boy Trey Larkins on the Wise Guys Sports Show. Everybody go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. Let me sure follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. Come on in and sit a while, folks. We got an action, jam-packed show tonight. It's the NBA Conference Finals. In the East, it's the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics facing off against each other for the third time in the last 4 years. And in the Western Conference, we got the LA Lakers taking on the Denver Nuggets. These four teams faced off against each other in the bubble. So we got a repeat of the bubble conference finals in the current NBA conference finals for 2023. Anybody got anything they want to discuss? You can call into the show. 513-203-8655. 513-203-8655 is the number to dial. Who is your NBA finals picks? Give me your predictions. Do you have Celtics Lakers, Celtics Nuggets? Do you have Heat Lakers or Heat Nuggets? Call to the show. Give me your predictions for who is going to be in the NBA Finals this year. This is an NBA edition of Wise Guys. So it won't be no NFL talk tonight on the show. It's going to be a lot of NBA. I'm also going to talk about Ja Morant and the latest incident involving Ja Morant and my thoughts on what's going on with Ja right now. And also later on the show, Draymond Green says that the Golden State Warriors will still be NBA championship contenders for future seasons to come. I'm going to talk about whether or not I believe that the Warriors, if they are still going to be contenders in the Western Conference moving forward. But let's transition and get to the NBA Eastern Conference semifinals. It was a battle between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Boston Celtics. It was a battle for the first 6 games, but yesterday at TD Garden, not so much. The Celtics beat the Sixers 112-88. Celtics win the series 4-3. Jason Tatum was sensational. He had 51 points, 13 rebounds, shot 7 of 28 from the floor, shot 6 of 10 from three-point range. Jaylen Brown had 25 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists for the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid had a game to forget, 15 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, and James Harden was a complete no-show, 9 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. So the Celtics, they advanced to their third consecutive conference finals in 4 years. So last 4 years, the Celtics has been in the conference finals 3 times. So I watched this game from the opening tip yesterday at TD Garden, and I thought Jason Tatum put on a sensational performance in Game 7, and I felt like watching the game, the Boston Celtics, they needed their elite star in Jason Tatum to show up in a big moment for their basketball team, and I thought Jason Tatum put together a performance that resembled his performance last year that he put together in the same exact round. Last year it came against the Milwaukee Bucks. It was Game 6. It was at FedEx Forum. The Bucks had beat the Celtics in Game 5 at TD Garden. So the Celtics were facing elimination. They were facing elimination, and Jason Tatum dropped 46 points on the Bucks last year in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference semifinals, pushed that series to 7 games. Celtics beat the Bucks at home in Game 7. Grant Williams had a great performance in Game 7. I think he hit like 7 threes. This performance yesterday against the Sixers, Jason Tatum resembled that same performance that he had last year against the Bucks, dropping 51 points. It's the most points in Game 7 in NBA history. Sam Jones dropped 47 in 1963. Dominique Wilkins dropped 47 in 1988. KD dropped 48 in the 2021 NBA playoffs. And just 2 weeks ago, Steph Curry dropped 50 points against the Sacramento Kings, and Jason Tatum put together a 51-point performance, and he had it going, especially in that third quarter. That was when the Celtics pulled away from the Sixers. The Celtics outscored the Sixers 33-10 in that third quarter, and Jason Tatum was cooking. He was hitting the pullback three-point jumper. He was able to get to the rim and finish at the cup. He was hitting his free throw shots as well, and you could see he had the confidence. I love the confidence that he had, and I felt like this happened because of his turnaround in Game 6. Game 6, through the first three quarters, Tatum had arguably the worst game of his career. And then in the fourth quarter, he completely turned it around. This is Tatum in Game 6. He started the game with 7 points, shot 1 of 14 from the floor. That's 7%. 0 of 6 from three-point range. In the final 4 minutes of Game 6 in Philadelphia, Tatum had 12 points, shot 4 of 7 from the floor, 57%, 4 of 5 from three-point range. And then the first shot that he hit was the three-pointer over Joel Embiid in Game 6. And then he hit another three-pointer over Tyrese Maxey. And I thought, okay, he got it going now. Now he got it going. Because the first three-pointer that he hit, it put the Celtics up 1. And then the second three that he hit over Maxey put the Celtics up 4. And then he had it going. And I thought his performance in the fourth quarter of Game 6 carried over to Game 7, and he was outstanding. And I thought that he led the Boston Celtics and pretty much took over the game. And Joel Embiid and James Harden did not have an answer for Jason Tatum in this game. And in Game 7s, you can have all the great coaching that you want. You can have great performances from your role players. In Game 7s, you need your stars to play like superstars in big moments in Game 7s. And I thought Jason Tatum did just that. Because at halftime, the Celtics were winning the game 55-52. So they only had a 3-point lead. And the Sixers got the ball to open the third quarter. Tobias Harris hits a 3-point shot. So the game is tied at 55. And Jason Tatum from there went crazy. He had a tremendous third quarter, and he pretty much outscored the Sixers by himself in that third quarter. It was a sensational performance, and we got to give him credit for that. Jason Tatum now in Game 7s, he's 5-1. 5-1 for Jason Tatum in career Game 7s. His only loss came against LeBron, and that was in the 2017 NBA playoffs, I believe. That was the year when Kevin Durant was with the Golden State Warriors and LeBron led that Cleveland Cavaliers team that didn't have Kyrie Irving to the NBA Finals. That might have been 2018. But that was the 1 year when Tatum lost a Game 7. He's 5-1 in Game 7. So this narrative out there about how Jason Tatum doesn't play well in big games, I think Jason Tatum put that narrative to bed with this performance. And he said after Game 6 in the post-game press conference, he said, humbly, I am one of the best basketball players in the world. And he proved himself to be right with his Game 7 performance. So Jason Tatum was sensational. I thought Jaylen Brown did a great job with his 25 points. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are again in the conference finals for the third time in the last 4 years. I believe that they are the winningest duo in the NBA currently. And there was a question earlier I saw, I can't remember exactly where it was from, but it was talking about the current NBA duos that's left. Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler for the Heat, LeBron James, Anthony Davis for the Lakers, Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic for the Nuggets. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown for the Celtics. Who are you taking? And I am riding with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I believe that the Boston Celtics organization have done a tremendous job building around Tatum and Brown. I'm going to preview the NBA conference finals for the East here in a bit. But Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they have been the best duo in the NBA, I would say, for the last 3 years. For the last 3 years, they have been the best duo in the NBA. Since they lost in the bubble, they've had conference championship appearances. They got to the NBA finals last year. So I know that LeBron and AD is more accomplished than Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, but Anthony Davis is inconsistent. Jamal Murray is fresh off his injury that he suffered a few years ago, so we still got to see if he can get back to playing at a high level consistently. And Bam Adebayo, I like Bam, I like Jimmy, but sometimes Bam offensively he can come and go. Sometimes he's great defensively, but offensively he can come and go. So I would take Jaylen Brown and Tatum as the best remaining duo in the NBA. Now, when I look at the Philadelphia 76ers, as great as Jason Tatum played yesterday, we got to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers and their shortcomings not reaching a conference finals again. The 76ers have not been to the conference finals since 2001. That was when Allen Iverson got them to the NBA finals. And so it's plenty of blame to go around when it comes to the Philadelphia 76ers. But it's three people that I want to specifically talk about: James Harden, Joel Embiid, and Doc Rivers. Let's start off with Joel Embiid, because Joel Embiid is the best player on the Philadelphia 76ers, and he is the NBA MVP. In this game, Joel Embiid was pathetic. Embiid had 15 points, shot 5 of 18 from the floor. He only had 2 points in the second half on 1 of 6 shooting. So when you are in the NBA playoffs and you see the opposing team's star going off the way that Jason Tatum was going off yesterday, you need your MVP and your best player on your team to say, no, I have to keep us in this game and battle and go shot for shot with Tatum. And Joel Embiid simply did not do that. And honestly, this goes back even to game 6. In game 6, I thought in the fourth quarter, the Sixers had the Celtics in a position to where the Celtics, honestly, season was on the brink. And the Sixers had the basketball, leading by 2 on 3 different occasions in the fourth quarter, and they did not deliver the knockout punch. And that is on Joel Embiid. You are the NBA MVP. You are by far the best player on this Sixers team. And down the stretch in game 6, Joel Embiid doesn't touch the basketball that much. Like in game 6, down the stretch in the last 5 minutes, Joel Embiid did not touch the basketball. And if you are a star of Embiid's caliber, you have to demand the basketball. You got to demand the basketball. You got Al Horford guarding you. There's no reason why you, A, should not be demanding the basketball, and B, in game 7, I saw this a lot. Why is Joel Embiid settling for jump shots? He shot 1 of 12 on perimeter shots in game 7. So the perimeter shots is either obviously a mid-range or a 3-point shot. Why is Joel Embiid shooting jump shots? And Joel Embiid is the tallest player on the floor. And he's the NBA MVP. You got Al Horford guarding you, Joel. Al Horford. Al Horford's best days are behind him. He's a spot-up 3-point shooter now and a great veteran presence for the Boston Celtics in their locker room. But Al Horford can't guard Joel Embiid. He can't guard Joel Embiid. And Joel Embiid in the fourth quarter of game 6 and the entire game of game 7 allowed Al Horford to slow him down. And Joel Embiid couldn't get into a rhythm and could not answer the barrage and the performance from Tatum on the opposite side. So Joel Embiid, he failed with this loss in Game 7 to the Celtics. Joel Embiid failed to 0-5 in conference semifinal series. He's never been to a conference finals. Joel Embiid is now 0-3 in Game 7s. He's never won a Game 7. He lost in Game 7 to Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors, the year when the Raptors won their championship against the Warriors. He lost to Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks in Game 7 a few years ago, and he lost yesterday to the Celtics. So he's 0-3 in his career in Game 7s. So Joel Embiid deserves some blame for the Philadelphia 76ers not being able to close out the Boston Celtics in Game 6 or Game 7. You are the NBA MVP, and I said that Joel Embiid deserved to be the NBA MVP, and I've argued with plenty of Nuggets fans and people who believe that the Joker is better than Embiid. Today is not a day for me to make the argument that Embiid is better than the Joker. It ain't the day for it. It ain't the day for it because Joker balled out in the Western Conference semifinals against the Suns. He closed out Kevin Durant and Devin Booker in that series, and Embiid got sent home. And then there's actually reports out there about how down the stretch of the season, Nikola Jokic pretty much just said, forget the MVP. He had the mindset that, hey, Embiid can have it. I've won it 2 straight years. And Nikola Jokic did not prioritize winning the NBA MVP award. And Embiid wanted to win the NBA MVP. He wanted it. And coincidentally, Embiid is on his way to Cancun, and the Joker is on his way to the Western Conference semifinals. And when it comes to the NBA MVP, this is the 4th straight year where the NBA MVP failed to reach the conference finals. That's the longest streak in NBA history. So that's what I blame Joel Embiid for. Let me get to James Harden. James Harden was pathetic in Game 6 and Game 7. In this series against the Boston Celtics, James Harden, he went 5 games in this 7-game series with only 4 made field goals or less. And in his career for Game 7s, this is James Harden. He's averaged 21 points per game on 36% shooting from the floor, 22% from three-point range, which is the worst three-point percentage in Game 7s in NBA playoff history. That's on a minimum of 25 shot attempts. Let me give you more numbers for how pathetic James Harden was in the 4th quarter of this series. James Harden in the 4th quarter in games 5 through 7. Game 5, 0 points, 0 of 1 from the floor, -4. That was his plus-minus rating, -4. Game 6, 0 points, 0 of 4 from the floor, plus-minus, -13. Game 7, 0 points, 0 for 1 shooting from the floor, -4 rating. That's the worst plus-minus among all starters in each game. Yes, James Harden was sensational for the Philadelphia 76ers in Game 1 and Game 4. He won them Game 1 and Game 4. In Game 4, he had 42 points. I know he had over 40 points in Game 1 as well. That was the game when Joel Embiid didn't even play. And statistically, you look at James Harden in this series and the wins for the Sixers, James Harden's averaged 35 points per game on 61% shooting from the floor, 56% shooting from 3. In the Sixers' losses in this series, 13 points per game, 22% shooting from the floor, 13% shooting overall. But it's on brand Why is everyone acting so surprised about James Harden not showing up when it matters the most? We've seen this movie before with James Harden. There are some players in NBA history who are NBA all-time greats who thrive in big moments. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Kevin Durant. I've seen Kevin Durant do it. There's some certain players who have what it takes and some players who don't have what it takes. And I believe James Harden has always been the type of player who doesn't have what it takes when you need him the most. We saw this in Houston. I remember the year in Houston where the San Antonio Spurs were going up against the Houston Rockets. Game 6 in Harden's house in Houston. No Kawhi Leonard in this game. And James Harden and the Houston Rockets got blew out by 40 in Game 6. It was a closeout game for the Spurs. They blew the Rockets out by 40. In that game, Harden shot like 2 of 12 from the floor. Had like, I think like 8 points. He was pathetic in that game. And he put together a similar performance in Game 6 and Game 7 of this series. Sixers fans shouldn't be surprised. This is who Harden is. James Harden is no longer the elite scorer that he once was in Houston. James Harden is washed. And he's a role player at best. There's reports out a couple weeks ago about how the James Harden and his camp may be seeking to get $50 million per year from the Sixers moving forward. Daryl Morey is the general manager for the Sixers. He was also the general manager with Harden in Houston. So Harden and Daryl Morey have a great relationship. Daryl Morey would be a fool to give James Harden $50 million per year moving forward. He would be a fool. And he should be drug tested if he even thinks about giving James Harden $50 million per year moving forward. Because James Harden is no longer a star in the NBA. I'm going to just name some stars. And I'm not even going to talk about superstars. I'm going to just name some stars. Jaylen Brown, De'Aaron Fox, Donovan Mitchell. These are players who I believe are stars, not superstars, but are stars who I would take right now over James Harden. That's how bad James Harden is now. And we got to stop thinking this is still the Houston Rockets James Harden. That James Harden is gone. Him as a player is dead and gone from the Houston Rockets James Harden. He's no longer that guy no more. And I said late in the season that the Philadelphia 76ers second best player was not James Harden, it's Tyrese Maxey. And so watching this series, as a Tatum fan and as a Jaylen Brown fan, I root for the Celtics. Tyrese Maxey, I had more fear in him than James Harden. I was loving the fact that the Sixers kept running the offense through James Harden. I loved it. If you were a Celtics fan watching the game, Tyrese Maxey had to scare you more than James Harden did. So James Harden is on brand as usual to not perform well in big games. If I'm Daryl Morey, if I'm the Sixers organization, I am allowing James Harden to walk in free agency. He can walk all, he can leave. Go to Houston if you want to go to Houston, James. I am allowing him to walk. And I'm going to try to get my hands on Damian Lillard. And if I got to give up Tyrese Maxey to get Dame and pair up Dame time with Joel Embiid, then I got to send Maxey to the Trailblazers. But I am moving on from James Harden if I am the Philadelphia 76ers because James Harden is no longer a first or second option on a championship contender. Now, the other person who deserves blame is Doc Rivers. But I'm not going to blame Doc Rivers as much as the media, that's not Wise Guy Sports, of course, is blaming Doc. I believe that you need your stars to play well in game sevens. And I thought James Harden and Joel Embiid, they quit on Doc yesterday. They quit on Doc. And Doc Rivers, we know his struggles in the playoffs. Doc Rivers is 6-10 in game sevens. So he's lost 10 total games in game sevens. That's twice as many as any other coach in NBA history. Pat Riley has 5 game 7 losses. So Doc Rivers has 10. And I know that Doc is an easy target. It could be a scapegoat for the Sixers not reaching their goals this year. But I'm not going to blame Doc Rivers for James Harden's pathetic performance in games 5 through 7 in the fourth quarter. I'm not going to blame Doc for Joel Embiid not demanding the basketball in a crucial fourth quarter of a closeout, game 6. I'm not going to blame Doc Rivers for Joel Embiid only scoring 15 points in a winner go-home game 7. I'm not blaming Doc for that. Now, this is what I will blame Doc for, because Doc deserves some blame because he didn't make the necessary adjustments. And that is a part of coaching. You got coaches like Ty Lue, Darwin Ham, Steve Kerr. They make adjustments throughout playoff series, and it helps their team win series. It happened in this series. Joe Mazzulla, I've been critical of Joe Mazzulla during this playoff run. But the one adjustment that Joe Mazzulla made in this series, and I believe it was a difference, was he inserted Robert Williams into the starting lineup in game 6. That lineup with Smart, Brown, Tatum, Horford, and Williams, that was the starting lineup and the starting 5 that got the Celtics to the NBA Finals last year. So I give Joe Mazzulla a lot of credit because he wanted to go small in the first 5 games of this series, but he realized that I got to substitute some offense for some defense. So he brought in Robert Williams off the bench, and I thought that was a tremendous, tremendous adjustment, and that helped the Celtics win this series. But Doc Rivers really never made any adjustments. As the head coach in game 6, in the last 5 minutes, if you see on consecutive or 3 or 4 possessions where Joel Embiid is not touching the basketball, as a head coach, timeout. And you sit your team down and you tell your team, get 21 to basketball. Joel Embiid needs to touch the basketball on every single possession. And Doc Rivers didn't do that. He didn't do that in game 6. So that's where I blame Doc Rivers for the Sixers losing this series. They need to move on from Doc Rivers first. John shrugged, say, John, I disagree. I'm not saying that Doc Rivers is as good of a coach as Ty Lue is, or Steve Kerr is, or Eric Spoelstra. But to me, the blame for the Sixers losing this series, John, is on James Harden and Joel Embiid. Doc Rivers would be the scapegoat. I'm not saying that Doc Rivers is the best coach in the NBA. And yes, I believe that Doc Rivers should have made some adjustments. And I think Doc Rivers should have gotten the ball more to Tyrese Maxey than James Harden. Now, again, as a person that's rooting for the Celtics, I was happy that Doc Rivers kept giving the ball to James Harden. Like I said, I feared Tyrese Maxey more than I feared James Harden in this series. So I think that Doc Rivers made 2 mistakes. One, he didn't call no timeout in the final 5 minutes of game 6 and demand that his team get Joel Embiid the basketball and demand his MVP center to demand the basketball. And number 2, he made a mistake not having the offense run through Maxey more than Harden. I think Maxey is a better player at this moment than Harden is. Tyrese Maxey is the second best player on the Philadelphia 76ers basketball team. It is not James Harden. And for whatever reason, Doc continued to run the offense through Harden. So that was a mistake as well. Other than that, I put majority of the blame for the reason why the Sixers lost this series on Joel Embiid and James Harden simply not being good enough. And I don't think the Sixers are good enough as a team. I said this coming into the series. I said the Celtics are by far the better team. Now, the Sixers made this an interesting series, but the Celtics are by far a more superior team than the Sixers are. They're not good enough. Question about coaches. You think Monty Williams gets the Raptors job? Nurse go to Suns or Bucks? Heard Isaiah Thomas might become Detroit Pistons' next head coach. I might talk about that a little bit later on, John, about the head coaches and where they may go for sure. But yeah, I feel like you gotta. If I'm the Sixers organization, I may bring back Doc for one more season and try to go out and trade for Damian Lillard. That's what the Sixers need to do moving forward. This experiment with James Harden and Joel Embiid, it's not going to get you to the conference finals and help you reach your ultimate goal. It's not. Trade for Dame and pair up Dame time with Joel Embiid and see what happens from there. Everybody go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. And be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. Coming on the break, I'm going to discuss the Lakers and the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Wise Guys. These guys know sports. Here live on the Worldwide Sports Network. Remember, go follow Wise Guys on Twitter. And be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. Call into the show 513-203-8655. 513-203-8655. That is the number to dial. Any particular topic that you want to discuss, you can call into the show and we can talk about it on the show tonight. Who do you have in the NBA Finals? Who is your NBA Finals prediction? Is it Celtics, Lakers? Is it Celtics, Nuggets? Is it Heat, Lakers? Heat, Nuggets? What you got? Who you got? Let me know. Call into the show 513-203-8655. 8655 is the number to dial. Let's transition to the Western Conference Finals. It's LeBron, it's AD, it's Jamal Murray, it's Nikola Jokic, it's the Lakers and the Nuggets, a Western Conference Finals rematch from the bubble. And going into this matchup, the Nuggets are the favorites to win this series. They are minus 155. The Lakers are plus 135. And game one is set for tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. on ESPN. The Nuggets are favored by 5.5 points in this matchup. And so let's start off with the Lakers in this Western Conference Finals preview. The Lakers are led by head coach Darwin Ham. The Lakers finished the season 43-39. They were the 7th seed in the Western Conference, but the Lakers started off the season 2-10, and they became the 3rd team who had the most games under 500 to reach the conference finals. Because they were 8 games under 500 the first 12 games of the season. They were 2-10. So the Lakers have came a long way. And so far during the postseason, the Lakers have an NBA best 106.5 in defensive rating in the postseason. That's the best in the postseason so far. So when it comes to the Lakers, obviously, the Lakers season changed at the NBA trading deadline. They traded away Russell Westbrook, and Russell Westbrook and LeBron James simply did not fit together on the floor. And there were Laker fans who bashed Russ and said that Russ was no longer a good player and could not contribute to a championship team. And I said, you shouldn't blame Russ. You should blame Rob Pelinka. That's who you should blame, because everyone who knows basketball, we all knew that LeBron James and Russell Westbrook are not a good fit on the court together. They're not a good fit. We know Russell Westbrook is an all-time great, one of the greatest NBA point guards in NBA history. I don't like the perception that people have of Russell Westbrook, because I think Russ gives you 110%, never cheats the game, and everyone wanted to act like Russ should no longer be in the NBA because he didn't fit with the Lakers. But Russ went to the Clippers, and I thought Russ did a great job in that playoff series against the Phoenix Suns. Russ did his job. He did all he could to keep the Clippers in that series. Did all he could. I thought Russ played great in that series against the Suns. So Russ can still play. He just wasn't a good fit with LeBron. But as much blame as I gave Rob Pelinka for trading for Russell Westbrook to begin with, I give him the much more credit as well for making the moves that he made at the trading deadline. They brought in D'Angelo Russell, and I think D'Angelo Russell was a better fit with LeBron and AD than Russ was. They brought in Jaron Vanderbilt. They brought in Malik Beasley, Mo Bamba. I feel like Rob Pelinka deserves NBA General Manager of the Year award. Now, I know it went to the Kings General Manager. I'm not sure what his name is, but the Kings General Manager got the NBA General Manager of the Year award. But Rob Pelinka, the moves that he made at the trading deadline, it completely changed the Lakers and expectations for the Lakers, because the Lakers were a better basketball team post All-Star break than what they were before the All-Star break. And it's because of Rob Pelinka. He made some tremendous moves at the trading deadline, and statistically, it backs it up for the Lakers. This is since the All-Star break. The Lakers, this is during the regular season, they were 20-9, ranked first in the NBA. Opponents' field goal percentage when they play the Lakers is 45%. That's ranked first in the NBA. Opponent three-point field goal percentage is 33%. That ranks first in the NBA, and the Lakers had 163 blocks, which ranked second in the Western Conference. This includes the postseason. This was before their series against the Warriors. So the Lakers are a much improved basketball team. And I got to admit, I was wrong about the Lakers. I was wrong about the LA Lakers. Coming into the playoffs, I picked the Memphis Grizzlies to beat the Lakers in 6 games. I did. But obviously, after that series, my biggest takeaway was the Grizzlies are immature. They're immature and they are not ready to be a championship contender. We know how in what's going on right now with Ja Morant and Dylan Brooks, obviously, was immature as well. So I said, okay, they beat the Grizzlies. Lakers beat the Grizzlies. I'm still not sold on the Lakers being a championship contender. Just because they beat the Grizzlies, I'm not going to anoint you as being a championship contender. Beat the Warriors and prove to me that you are a championship contender. And in that series against the Warriors, the Lakers completely controlled the series. They really, really did. And I had to admit that I was wrong. I had to admit it. And if you want to know why I didn't feel like the Lakers were a championship contender, in the play-in game, they struggled to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. And their play style, to me, is not at the level of a Boston or a Denver, to me. I always felt like the Celtics and the Nuggets and even the Warriors and the Kings, they had a different level that they could get to offensively that the Lakers could not reach. And honestly, I was wrong because the Lakers have had timely breakout performances from their role players in the playoffs. That's the reason why the Lakers are in the Western Conference Finals. Make no mistake about it. As great as LeBron is still, even at age 38, as great as Anthony Davis has been, the reason why the Lakers are in the Western Conference Finals is because they've had timely breakout performances from their role players. It happened in the Warriors series in Game 4. Lonnie Walker in Game 4. Lakers were leading the series 2-1. And I was for sure the Warriors were going to win Game 4 at Crypto. I'm like, Warriors ain't going down 3-1. And in Game 4, Lonnie Walker had 15 points, shot 6 of 9 from the floor, and it came out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. Like I fell out my chair 4 times in Game 4 in the fourth quarter watching that game. Watching Lonnie Walker pretty much outplay Steph and Clay by himself. By himself. So their role players like Austin Reeves and Lonnie Walker and D'Angelo Russell, they are doing a tremendous job helping the Lakers on their journey getting to the NBA Conference Finals. They really are. Dennis Schroeder, Darvin Ham, he put Dennis Schroeder into the starting lineup in Game 6 against the Warriors. That was a great adjustment. Bring in more offense because he knew they were going to need offense to beat the Warriors in a closeout Game 6. So I've been impressed with the Lakers, and they are legitimate championship contenders. They really, really are. So I was wrong. I can come on here and admit I had the Grizzlies beating the Warriors. I had the Grizzlies beating the Lakers, and I had the Warriors beating the Lakers as well. And the Lakers beat both the Grizzlies and the Warriors in 6 games. In 6 games. And obviously they're led by LeBron James. In the postseason, LeBron is averaging 23 points per game. I feel like LeBron has done a great job at pacing himself in the playoffs. He really, really is. Like in Game 5 against the Grizzlies in the opening round, the Lakers were up 3-1. LeBron knew that they had Game 6 back at Crypto. In Game 5, LeBron didn't play well. And I said going into Game 6, I said you can bet your house on LeBron James performing at a high level tonight. And if you're a betting man or woman out there, bet on LeBron James player prompt. Take him for Game 6. You could have took him in Game 6 against the Grizzlies in the opening round, and you could have took him in Game 6 in the conference semifinals against the Warriors. He was tremendous in both Game 6 against the Grizzlies and against the Warriors. He was great because he knows how to pace himself. He didn't want to go back to Memphis for a Game 7. He didn't want to go back to Golden State for a Game 7. So he put all of his eggs in the Game 6 basket and it paid off for LeBron. I give him credit. He had subpar performances in game 5s in Memphis and in Golden State, but in game 6, he showed up. He definitely showed up. But the Lakers would not be in the conference finals if it wasn't for Anthony Davis. I got to give Anthony Davis some credit. He's done a great job as a rim protector for the Lakers. And I believe that Anthony Davis has been the best defensive player in the NBA playoffs this year. He's been the best defensive player in the NBA playoffs. His impact and the way he's able to alter shots, it's been a game changer for the Lakers. It really, really has been. And I thought against the Warriors, I thought the Warriors were going to be able to expose the Lakers because I know the Lakers are great on their front line defensively. And I'm like, okay, I expect Steph and Clay and Jordan Poole to be able to hit perimeter shots. And the weakness of the Lakers defense on the perimeter will show. But Anthony Davis, even in the series against the Warriors, did a great job going out on the perimeter and guarding Klay Thompson and guarding Steph Curry and Jordan Poole. So I got to give Anthony Davis some credit for the playoffs. He's averaging 21 points per game, 14 rebounds per game. So Anthony Davis has been controlling the paint for the Lakers. And so he's done a tremendous job as well. And so the Lakers are in a position with 2 of the top 10 players in the NBA in LeBron and AD. That's something that the other teams in the NBA can't really say. Like the Nuggets got Jokic and Jamal Murray, but Jamal Murray is not a top 10 player in the NBA. The Heat got Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. Bam is not a top 10 player in the NBA. The Celtics got Tatum and Brown. I don't think Brown is a top 10 player in the NBA. He getting better, though. Jaylen Brown's getting better, but I don't think he's a top 10 player in the NBA right now. So the Lakers have 2 players who are top 10 in the NBA on their team, and LeBron and AD, and they are getting tremendous, tremendous contributions from their role players. And that's the reason why they're in the conference finals right now. Let's switch gears to the Denver Nuggets. Obviously, the Denver Nuggets, they are led by Michael Malone. And Michael Malone is one of the best coaches in the NBA. And for his career, Michael Malone is 406 and 337. So he's won 55% of his games as a head coach. And this year, the Nuggets were the number 1 seed in the Western Conference with a 53 and 29 record. And they are led by Nikola Jokic. This year in the postseason, Nikola Jokic is playing at a high level. He's averaging 31 points per game, 13 rebounds per game. That's Nikola Jokic's stats right now. 31 points per game for the Joker. Jamal Murray, he's starting to play at a high level consistently. Again, he's averaging 26 points per game, 5 rebounds per game. So the Denver Nuggets were the most consistent team in the Western Conference all season long. I remember going into the playoffs, everyone was talking about who's going to represent the West in the NBA Finals this year. Is it going to be the Warriors? Is it going to be the Lakers? Is it going to be the Grizzlies? Could it be the Clippers? It was so many contenders, per se, in the Western Conference going into the playoffs. Suns, you could throw them in the mix as well. And the Denver Nuggets dismantled the Suns in the Western Conference semifinals. I mean, it was a complete beatdown, specifically in Game 6. They were up 30 at the half over the Phoenix Suns in the conference semifinals. So the Denver Nuggets have been impressive so far in the NBA playoffs this year. They really, really have. And so looking at this matchup with the Lakers and the Nuggets, I'm wondering which supporting cast is going to play better. Because let's just assume that LeBron and Anthony Davis, Jamal Murray, and Nikola Jokic, they cancel each other out. Let's just assume they cancel out, right? Which supporting cast is better? Is it the Lakers with Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell? Achi Umayora, Schroeder, Lonnie Walker, or you look at the Nuggets supporting cast. They got Michael Porter. They got Aaron Gordon. They got Bruce Brown, who was a contributor even with Kevin Durant on the Nets. They got KCP, who dropped, I think he had like 20 something points in the game 6 win over the Suns. And they got Jeff Green as well. Which supporting cast is going to step up? Is it going to be the Lakers or the Nuggets? That's going to be one of the deciding factors on who wins this series. Now, obviously, these two teams played against each other in the bubble in the Western Conference Finals. And that year in the bubble, Nikola Jokic, he averaged 22 points per game on 53% shooting from the floor, shot 85% from the free throw line, had 7 rebounds. But since the bubble, a lot has changed. Nikola Jokic has won 2 NBA MVPs, and Anthony Davis, before this season, he's been inconsistent. He's been inconsistent, even this year in the playoffs. There's been times where Anthony Davis has been inconsistent. And so I thought when the Lakers beat the Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals a few years ago en route to a championship, I said that Anthony Davis at that moment was the best big man in the game. A lot can change in a few years. A lot can change. And what has changed is right now, Nikola Jokic is better than Anthony Davis is. But I believe that Anthony Davis is Jokic's kryptonite. And so I believe that whether or not the Lakers or the Nuggets win this series is going to be on who plays better between Anthony Davis and Nikola Jokic. So again, a few years ago in the bubble, AD was better than the Joker. But since then, the Joker has gotten better, and currently he's better than Anthony Davis is. But Anthony Davis could outplay the Joker in this series, and it wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me. Now, the one thing I'm looking at in this series, I felt like in the series against the Warriors, that was a series for Anthony Davis to dominate because the Warriors, they don't have much size. They don't have much size. Against the Nuggets, I believe that this is a series that LeBron James is going to have to dominate. This year in the postseason, LeBron's averaging 23 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game and he's shooting 49% from the floor. So I believe that because the Nuggets have Nikola Jokic, that's going to be a battle between Jokic and Anthony Davis. So Anthony Davis is going to have to spend a lot of his energy guarding the Joker on the defensive end of the floor. So the Lakers need LeBron to step up offensively. And we know that LeBron, even at age 38, is more than capable at being able to do that. I'm pretty sure Michael Malone is going to have Aaron Gordon guard LeBron. And so we're going to need some production from LeBron offensively in this series. But I expect him to definitely be up to the challenge. Now, the one thing that Michael Malone is going to have to look out for in this series as well is against the Suns, Nikola Jokic didn't have to play much defense because DeAndre Ayton was irrelevant and was a complete no-show in that series. Jokic is going to play some defense in this series against the Lakers because Anthony Davis will make him work. And as great as the Joker is, that is one of the weaknesses of his game. If you have the Joker in pick and roll on the perimeter, he could be a liability defensively. Like, I know I've been critical of Joel Embiid and how he performed in Game 6 and Game 7, but Joel Embiid is a better defensive player than Nikola Jokic is. So I believe that Jokic in this matchup against the Lakers, he's going to have to play some defense. And if I'm Darwin Ham, I'm running a lot of pick and roll at Jokic. We know Jokic is going to give it to you on the offensive side of the floor. Make Jokic have to play defense and have to guard Anthony Davis, have to switch out on the pick and roll against the Lakers guards like Austin Reeves, like D'Angelo Russell. So that's another thing you got to look out for in this series if you Michael Malone. How good will Nikola Jokic be from a defensive standpoint? Now, another thing that's different from the bubble compared to now with these two teams is the Lakers had more bodies that they could throw at Jokic in the bubble. They had Dwight Howard. They had JaVale McGee. The Lakers are thin now. They only have Anthony Davis. Wayne Gabriel is on their bench, but Jokic would completely annihilate Gabriel. So that's another thing that's in favor of the Nuggets. The Lakers don't have the bodies to throw at Jokic like they had in the bubble. So that's something else that you got that you definitely have to look out for in this series. It's going to be a great series. And again, I think the Lakers are better than the Nuggets defensively, but I think the Nuggets are better than the Lakers offensively. And they can, I think if this becomes a shootout, I trust the Nuggets more than the Lakers. But with all that being said, yes, Nikola Jokic won back-to-back NBA MVPs. Yes, Jamal Murray is back to playing at a high level for the Denver Nuggets. And Michael Malone is a better coach than Darwin Ham is right now. But with all that being said, I learned my lesson. I'm rolling with the Lakers in 7 over the Denver Nuggets. I think LeBron and Anthony Davis will outperform Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic in Game 7 in Denver in the Western Conference Finals, and the Lakers will reach another NBA Finals and try to win NBA Championship banner number 18. So I'm rolling with the Lakers over the Nuggets in 7. But I believe it's going to be a tremendous series between two great teams. And if the Nuggets did win this series, it wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't be shocked. But I've betted against the Lakers enough in the postseason. I've learned my lesson. And so I got the Lakers in the finals in this year's postseason. Lakers in 7 over the Nuggets. Everybody go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. And be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. Coming at the break, I'm going to discuss the Eastern Conference Finals. Miami Heat, Boston Celtics for a second consecutive season. Third time in 4 years. Heat Celtics next on the Wise Guys Sports Show. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Wise Guys. These guys know sports. We're live on the Worldwide Sports Network in the house with your boy Trey Larkins on the Wise Guys Sports Show, the NBA edition of Wise Guys Sports. Call into the show, 513-203-8655. 513-203-8655 is the number to dial. Any particular topic that you want to discuss, NBA related, call in. Talk with me, talk with your boy. Let me know what you think. Give me your NBA Finals predictions. You got Celtics Lakers, Celtics Nuggets, Heat Nuggets, or Heat Lakers. Call in and give me your predictions on the show tonight. 513-203-8655. 513-203-8655 is the number to dial. Let's transition to the Eastern Conference Finals. It's the 8th seed Miami Heat taking on the 2-seeded Boston Celtics. The Celtics are the favorites in this series, minus 600. The Heat are a plus 430, and the Celtics are a minus 345. Heat are a plus 270 for game one. These two teams faced off against each other in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. The Celtics beat the Heat in 7 to advance to the NBA Finals, but it was a tough 7-game series between the two teams. This is the third head-to-head meeting in the Eastern Conference Finals in the past 4 seasons between the two teams. Tatum and Brown, they are trying to become the third duo with 50 playoff wins as teammates at the age 26 or younger. And for the head coaches, Joe Mazzulla would be the youngest coach to reach the NBA Finals since 1968, and Eric Spoelstra is seeking his 6th NBA Finals appearance. And this is something I saw earlier as well. This is the chances to advance to the NBA Finals. This is via ESPN analytics. The Miami Heat have a 3% chance to make the NBA Finals. The Celtics have a 97% chance to make the NBA Finals. That is according to ESPN's analytics. So let's start off with the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat, they finished the regular season with a 44-38 record. So they had to play in the play-in game. They lost their opening round play-in matchup against the Atlanta Hawks and Trae Young. And against the Chicago Bulls, they were trailing with a little over 3 minutes left in that game before Jimmy Butler completely took over the game. And throughout the regular season, the Miami Heat were inconsistent. They couldn't hit perimeter shots. They dealt with a bunch of injuries. They just couldn't get it right. But they've gotten it right so far in the postseason. In the first round, the Miami Heat, they upset Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks 4-1. And Jimmy Butler was sensational. He's been sensational all postseason long. Jimmy Butler, he's averaging 31 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game. He's playing at a high level. And in the opening round matchup against the Milwaukee Bucks, Jimmy Butler outplayed Giannis. And remember in that series, the Miami Heat, they lost Tyler Hero in game 1. They lost Victor Oladipo in game 3. And the Miami Heat beat the Milwaukee Bucks in 5. And also remember in that series, in games 4 and games 5, the Milwaukee Bucks had double-digit leads going into the fourth quarter. Double-digit leads for the Milwaukee Bucks going into the fourth quarters of games 4 and games 5. And Jimmy Butler in the Miami Heat outplayed the Milwaukee Bucks significantly in games 4 and games 5 in the fourth quarters of those games. And so you look at the Miami Heat and their team. Bam Adebayo, he's averaging 18 points per game, 9 rebounds per game. So we know he's great on the boards. Gabe Vincent has been a great contributor for the Miami Heat. in the playoffs so far, 12 points per game, 5 assists per game for Gabe Vincent, and Max Strus, 11 points per game for the Miami Heat. The thing about the Miami Heat is, and I don't know, I don't understand or see how they continue to keep doing this, because if you look at the 4 teams that's remaining, right? Lakers, Nuggets, Celtics, Heat. Out of all 4 teams, the Miami Heat probably have the 4th best roster left for sure. Like, the Nuggets, Lakers, and Celtics are all more talented than the Miami Heat are. They're all more talented. But the Miami Heat culture that features Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, Jimmy Butler, and I think Jimmy Butler is the perfect player for this Miami Heat franchise. Their culture and how they are able to maximize the most from their players is something that we have to give Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra a lot of credit for. We got to give Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra credit for player development in that Miami Heat organization, because Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Caleb Martin, they're not talented players. They're not talented players. But somehow, some way, the Miami Heat are in the conference finals again. They continue to claw and fight and battle. And here they are on the doorstep of reaching another NBA finals. I can't say enough about the job that this Miami Heat organization has done. And I think you can make a legitimate argument that not Steve Kerr, not Ty Lue, but Eric Spoelstra is the best NBA coach right now, currently. He's the best NBA coach right now. Steve Kerr has Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. Ty Lue has Kawhi Leonard when he decides to play, and Paul George. All Eric Spoelstra has is Jimmy Butler and a bunch of role players at his disposal. And Eric Spoelstra has the Miami Heat on the brink of an NBA Finals appearance yet again. You look at what Eric Spoelstra has been able to do since he's been the head coach of the Miami Heat. He has a career record of 704 wins and 491 losses. So he's won 59% of his games. He also is a 2-time NBA champion as a head coach, 2-time NBA All-Star Game head coach, and he is recognized as a top 15 coach in NBA history. And I love the type of coach that Eric Spoelstra is. I remember when the Miami Heat were struggling and when they lost that play-in matchup to the Atlanta Hawks, there were people that were talking about how maybe the Miami Heat should move off of Eric Spoelstra and bring in a new voice. Bring in a new voice. There was folks that actually said that. And I said, you're crazy. I said it at the time. They are crazy because Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA. He's the best coach in the NBA. And so what the Miami Heat have been able to do this year, it's really a underdog story. Like they are the true underdogs and the Cinderella of the NBA playoffs. You know how we always have Cinderellas in the NCAA tournament? Well, the Miami Heat as an 8th seed is the Cinderellas right now of the NBA playoffs currently. What they've been able to do and how they were able to upset the Milwaukee Bucks was impressive. I had them beating the New York Knicks. I really did, because I know that Julius Randle is a no-show in big games. I know how great Jalen Brunson is, but Julius Randle is a no-show in big games, and he's really not a 1 or a 2 on a championship contender. I think Randle is more of like a 3, or maybe even a 4. But I had the Heat beating the Knicks in the conference semifinals, and they played great. They really, really did in that series. But I believe that the unsung hero for the Miami Heat is obviously Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry in the postseason, he's only averaging 10 points per game, but his impact is something that you cannot undermine. He has a tremendous impact on this Miami Heat basketball team as their point guard. And I love the relationship that Kyle Lowry has with Jimmy Butler. So the Miami Heat are they are in the conference finals, and they're gonna fight with the Boston Celtics. They are about to battle it out with the Boston Celtics. And when you look at the Heat from a strategic standpoint, what they're able to do is they're able to hit perimeter shots. So Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Caleb Martin, Kyle Lowry, Eric Spoelstra has given Duncan Robinson more minutes now that Oladipo and Hero are both out for the season. He's given Duncan Robinson more minutes. And Duncan Robinson is one of the best perimeter shooters in the NBA. I feel like the Miami Heat, the way they're able to win games is they play tremendous defense and they try to get into the interior and dish the ball out to their shooters. And also they have Bam contribute offensively, where Bam, he's not a great low post scorer like a Jokic or an Embiid, but Bam can hit some perimeter shots at that elbow. That he can hit a lot of elbow jump shots. But they always basically try to position themselves to be close. That way in the fourth quarter, they can have Jimmy Butler bring them home. Because that's their recipe and their formula on how to win games. Keep it close in the first three quarters and have Jimmy Butler bring them home. And Jimmy Butler has delivered in the playoffs so far for the Miami Heat. I think he had like 56 points in game 4 in their series against the Milwaukee Bucks. And then he had like 42, I believe, in game 5. So Jimmy Butler has been sensational, and the Miami Heat have been great as overall franchise. Now, let's look at the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics have been the overwhelming favorites to come out of the East and win the NBA Finals all season long. They are led by first-year head coach Joe Mazzulla. And I have my questions about Joe Mazzulla throughout the regular season and damn sure in the playoffs in these first 2 series against the Hawks and the Sixers. Because Joe Mazzulla wasn't really making no adjustments. And I saw Ime Udoka make adjustments for the Boston Celtics last year in their route to the NBA Finals. I saw it. Also, at one point during the playoffs, their numbers could have improved. But at one point in the playoffs, the Celtics were ranked 10th amongst teams in the second round. So in the second round, obviously, it was 8 teams remaining. And so the Celtics had the 10th best defensive rating in the playoffs. And last year, under Ime Udoka, the Celtics were a much, much better defensive basketball team. Defensively, they made more of an impact under Udoka than what they made under Mazzulla. And I feel like sometimes when I watch the Celtics, all they want to do is just jack up threes. They want to just shoot threes all game long. That's all they want to do. And sometimes I be watching them and I'm thinking, you got Jaylen Brown. You got Jason Tatum. You got Derek White. You got Malcolm Brogdon. Attack the interior sometimes. Drive the basketball and attack the rim. You don't always have to settle for perimeter shots. And it's like all they want to do is shoot perimeter shots and outscore you. And that is not a recipe for success if you are the Boston Celtics. The Celtics, they hung their hat on last year defense. Remember in the first round last year against the Brooklyn Nets, the way that the Celtics defensively, the way that they were able to suffocate Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, they frustrated Irving and Durant that entire first round series. That's why they beat the Nets 4-0. And the games were actually close, but we knew that the Celtics was by far the better basketball team than the Nets were last year. So I thought last year the Celtics, they hung their hat on defense more so than offense. And this year, it's the opposite. They're playing more offense and trying to outscore you compared to playing great defense. Now, I thought they did a great job in game 6 against the Sixers, holding the Sixers to only 13 points in the fourth quarter. And they held the Sixers to 86 points for the game. And then they held the Sixers to also to 88 points in game 7. But in order for the Celtics to get back to the NBA Finals and reach their ultimate goal, they got to play more defense. They got to play more defense. And again, as critical as I've been in the past of Joe Mazzulla, I got to give him credit for making that adjustment, starting Robert Williams in game 6. And the starting lineup with Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford, and Robert Williams, that was the lineup that got the Celtics to the NBA Finals last year. So he wanted to go small in the first 5 games of the series, but he realized that I need more defense on the floor. And he substituted offense for defense by bringing in Robert Williams. And so, I think he had Derek White starting at first, and he put Derek White on the bench and brought in Robert Williams. So that was a great adjustment for Joe Mazzulla. Now, when you look at the Boston Celtics as a team, obviously they are led by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. For the playoffs, Jason Tatum is averaging 28 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, which is impressive for Tatum. Jaylen Brown has been a tremendous co-star alongside Tatum. He's averaging 25 points per game with 5 rebounds per game, and he's done a tremendous job as well. And so I did a segment earlier in the season because I hear people who always talk about Jaylen Brown is better than Jason Tatum is. And I'm a Tatum fan, and I don't apologize for it. But I believe that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are equivalent. But the Boston Celtics organization, they give off the impression that Jason Tatum is the franchise player. But I believe that Jaylen Brown is just as good as Jason Tatum is. And watching the Celtics all season and watching them over the last few years, I believe that Jaylen Brown sets the tone for the Celtics. And as the game goes along, Tatum gets into a rhythm, and he's the closer for the Celtics. But Jaylen Brown comes out and sets the tone. Now, I think Joe Mazzulla needs to do a better job of featuring Jaylen Brown offensively more in the fourth quarter in close games. Like, I noticed with the Celtics, in close games, in clutch time is any game that's 5 points or less under 5 minutes, they always go to Tatum every possession. I believe that Jaylen Brown deserves more touches down the stretch in basketball games late. You got to get Jaylen Brown to basketball because I believe that Jaylen Brown is more proven and has done more in the postseason than Jason Tatum has. I really, really do. I have to be honest as a Tatum fan. Jaylen Brown, I believe that opposing teams, they fear Jaylen Brown more than Jason Tatum in the playoffs. Last year in the finals, even though the Celtics got beat by the Warriors, if the Celtics were able to win that series, Jason Tatum would not have been the NBA Finals MVP. It would have been Jaylen Brown. Tatum got completely shut down by Andrew Wiggins in the finals last year. Now, again, I do believe that Tatum has more upside than Brown has. Like, I think Jaylen Brown has maxed out, but Jaylen Brown is a tremendous player. I think he's one of the best young players that we have currently in the NBA. But I think Tatum has more upside, and I think Tatum has to do a better job of being more like more fierce, more like demanding the basketball. Like, I love the fact after game 6, because remember in game 6, Tatum was struggling. He was struggling. He started off the game. This is Jason Tatum in game 6 against the Sixers. Tatum started off the game with 7 points, shooting 1 of 14 from the floor, 7%, 0 of 6 from three-point range. In the final 4 minutes of the game, Tatum had 12 points, shot 4 of 7 from the floor, 57% from the floor, 4 of 5 from three-point range. I thought as bad as Tatum was in the first 3 quarters, he completely flipped the script in the fourth quarter, and he saved the Celtics season. He saved their season. And I thought that carried over into game 7. And so I don't want my best player or my NBA star to be nice on the court. I don't want it. I love the competitor that Kobe and Jordan were. I love it. I love that they were competitors. I love that Steph Curry and LeBron James in the playoffs in these fourth quarters of these games. They don't want to be your friend. We're not cool. We're not friends. I don't want my NBA stars to be friendly on the court. Off the court, I want you to be friendly and be a nice person and and be personable and relate to people and stuff and so forth. Steph Curry is one of the greatest players off the court that you will ever know. Same for LeBron James. But on the court, LeBron and Steph both they trying to annihilate you. And that's what I think Jason Tatum has to do for the Celtics to reach their ultimate goal and win an NBA championship. Tatum has to be more aggressive, and he can't get off to these slow starts in the first quarters of playoff games. I mean, in the series against the Sixers, Tatum was pathetic for majority of the first quarters of that series. Now, he did good in Game 7. He did really, really well in Game 7, but I need Tatum to be more aggressive and have a more of a killer mentality. His favorite all-time player is Kobe, the Black Mamba. God rest his soul. Tatum, you need to go and watch some videos on Kobe and how Kobe always had that killer instinct. Always had it. And I believe that that killer instinct, even though I want Tatum to develop that killer instinct, part of me do believe that that's something that you're born with. Like Kobe and Jordan, they were born with that killer instinct. They came into the NBA with that killer instinct. So I think that's something that you are born with and you come into the league with. So I don't know if Tatum can change that at this point in his career, but I do believe that in order for the Celtics to reach their goals and win an NBA championship, they need Tatum to be more aggressive and demand the basketball and not come out and get off to these slow starts. They need him to be aggressive. Chris Paul is another example of a player who I love off the court. But on the court, if you are an opposing team going up against Chris Paul, you hate Chris Paul. You hate him. Can't stand Chris Paul. Draymond Green is the same way. Draymond Green, a lot of people they're not big fans of Draymond Green. I'm a fan of Draymond Green on the court and off the court. But on the court, Draymond Green's not your friend. We're not cool. It's players all the time. I see Draymond Green barking at, but he got a lot of respect for him, and he talks about that after games. So I think that's something that the Celtics need from Tatum to win an NBA championship this year. Now, for the Celtics, I believe that the Celtics, out of all the teams remaining, they have the best guard play. They got Derek White. They got Malcolm Brogdon off the bench. They have Marcus Smart. They got Jaylen Brown in their starting lineup. Those four players as their guards, I believe that's something that the other three teams remaining don't have. I love the acquisition of Malcolm Brogdon in the offseason because Malcolm Brogdon is the point guard for the Celtics in late game situations. That was something that we saw last year during their playoff run. They continued to turn the basketball over. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So I think as we get later in the playoffs, Joe Mazzulla is going to have to rely more on Malcolm Brogdon because Malcolm Brogdon, unlike Marcus Smart, he can run the offense and get the Celtics in the right position and get into their offensive sets and be in a position to score the basketball late game. So I love Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is the heart and soul of the Celtics, even though Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are the best players. Similar to the Warriors and how Draymond Green is the heart and soul of the Warriors, but Steph and Klay are the two best players. Marcus Smart is the heart and soul of the Celtics. But I believe Malcolm Brogdon is a better point guard than Marcus Smart is. And so I think he can run the offense better than Smart. Derek White as well. But I love the Celtics guards. I really, really do. And so that's going to be also a key in this series. I think the X factor in this series is going to be Al Horford. Because in the series against the Sixers, Al Horford couldn't throw the basketball in the ocean. He couldn't throw the basketball in the ocean. He was awful in that series. If you can have Al Horford on the perimeter and he's able to hit perimeter shots and bring Bam out of the interior, that will open up driving lanes for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum in this matchup. So Al Horford has to hit perimeter shots. Now, I'm interested to see if Joe Mazzulla goes back to his small ball lineup with Derek White, with Jaylen Brown, with Tatum, and Horford and stuff. I'm wondering to see if he's going to do that. That's going to be interesting in this series for sure. Because before game 6, Mazzulla went Derek White, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Tatum, and Horford. And he made the adjustment starting Robert Williams over Derek White. And I'm interested to see how he goes into this series against the Miami Heat. I would expect him to go small. I would expect him to put Robert Williams back on the bench and start Derek White, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Al Horford. And try to see if Horford can get into a rhythm shooting the basketball from the perimeter. But this gonna be a dogfight. And so if you're the Celtics, you got to look at the Heat as being the opposite of the Sixers. Like the Sixers have talent in Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, and James Harden is an all-time great. As critical as I am of James Harden is one of the greatest shooting guards in NBA history. And they got Doc Rivers, one of the best coaches in NBA history, right? The Heat don't have as much talent as the Sixers have. But what the Heat have that the Sixers did not have is the mental toughness. And I believe that the Miami Heat, they are more of a mentally tough basketball team than the Philadelphia 76ers are. So the Celtics, they cannot take the Heat lightly. They cannot take the Heat lightly. They have to take the Heat serious. And the Celtics have a habit of when you least expect it, when you expect them to basically play better than the opposing team and prove why they are the Eastern Conference defending champions, they have letdowns. It happened in the Sixers series. Up 2-1, they lose game 4 against the Sixers in Philadelphia. They come back home for a pivotal game 5, the biggest game of the season, and they lose in game 5 at TD Garden. They win game 6 and game 7, but the Celtics, they play down to the competition and they make things harder than it needs to be. They are not a team that when you have expectations of the Celtics, they will have a letdown. Last year it happened in the Eastern Conference Finals, even against the Miami Heat. They were up 3-2 over the Miami Heat. Game 6 at TD Garden, a chance to punch their ticket to the NBA Finals, and they lose to the Miami Heat and Jimmy Butler. They had to go to Miami for game 7, and they outplayed the Heat in the first 3 quarters of that game. But in the fourth quarter, Jimmy Butler started going crazy. And if it wasn't for a Jimmy Butler missed 3 in the final 30 seconds of that game, the Heat could have upset the Celtics. So the Celtics cannot mess around in this series. So with all that being said, because the Celtics have the ability to be inconsistent and play down to their competition, I'm going to roll with the Celtics to beat the Heat in 6. I feel like the Celtics should beat the Heat in 5, and it should be a gentleman's sweep because Jimmy Butler can get you 1. But I think because of the Miami Heat and how they play hard, and the Miami Heat have the advantage from a head coaching perspective, I believe that the Celtics will beat the Miami Heat in 6. And so my NBA Finals is Celtics-Lakers, and one of those 2 teams will win their 18th banner for their respective franchises. So I got Celtics in 6 over the Miami Heat. Everybody go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. And be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys No Sports. Coming out the break, I'm going to discuss Ja Morant and the issues surrounding Ja Morant right now. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Wise Guys. These guys know sports. Here live on the Worldwide Sports Network. Everybody go follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. Be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. Call to the show 513-203-8655. 513-203-8655 is the number to dial any particular topic that you want to discuss. We can talk about it on the show tonight. I just did my Western Conference Finals preview and my Eastern Conference Finals preview. I have the Lakers and the Celtics representing the East and the West in the NBA Finals. And we know the history between the Lakers and the Celtics. Both teams are trying to capture their 18th NBA championship and hang banner number 18. So, yeah, I think it's going to be the Lakers and the Celtics. LeBron James and Anthony Davis versus Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So, yes, that's what I got for my NBA Finals prediction. But give me your NBA Finals prediction. Call into the show. That is the number to dial, 513-203-8655. Let's transition to another story right now in the NBA. Another incident surrounding Ja Morant. The Memphis Grizzlies have suspended Ja Morant after another gun video surfaces. Morant is currently suspended from all team activities pending league review. League also looking into the situation. So I want to take y'all down the Ja Morant timeline of events. March 4th, Morant was shown in a video with a gun. He stepped away from the team. That was the night after the Grizzlies had lost to the Nuggets in Denver. He was in a video with the gun. March 4th. March 8th, Glendale police, they said they won't file charges. Grizzlies say Morant will be away from the team for at least 4 games. March 13th, Morant enters a counseling program, according to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. March 15th, Morant meets with commissioner, gets an 8-game suspension. I believe that he had already served like 5 or 6 games, so he only had to serve like 3 more games of that suspension. That was on March 15th. He met with the commissioner. March 22nd, Ja Morant returned to play. So, first and foremost, when I look at the situation right now involving Ja Morant, I believe that NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, the Memphis Grizzlies organization, both have failed Ja Morant. If you go back down memory lane, when the situation took place in March, they said that Morant went to a counseling program and they suspended Ja Morant for 8 games. And I said at the time that something doesn't feel right here. Like, this doesn't seem like an issue that has been resolved. And and the Grizzlies organization and Adam Silver and the NBA, they said, hey, Morant is ready to return back to the court. He's done the work. He went to counseling. He's been suspended. So we're ready for him to play basketball again. And I said then that if you have an issue, I don't believe that that issue could be resolved only being away from the team for 10 days. That was it. That was Ja Morant was away from the Memphis Grizzlies at the most, let's say 2 weeks. At the most. And I thought that was an opportunity for the Memphis Grizzlies organization and the NBA to take a stand and show Ja Morant, hey, you keep continuing to act the way that you're acting, you can have basketball taken away from you. I thought they should have suspended Ja Morant for the remaining of the season. He should have been suspended for the rest of the season. And they brought him back after an 8-game suspension, essentially saying the NBA playoffs are more important than Ja Morant as a person in his future in the NBA. That's what they basically said. The Memphis Grizzlies organization and Adam Silver basically prioritized the NBA playoffs over Ja Morant, the human being. And I thought that was a mistake. That's the first thing I wanted to say when it comes to the incident involving Ja Morant. I feel like the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA, they have both failed Ja Morant. And they have done a disservice to Ja Morant and basically have coddled Ja Morant. And that's the reason why we are here today with Ja Morant involved in yet another incident on an IG live video with the gun in his hand. You never really disciplined Ja Morant to begin with. You never really gave him a harsh punishment enough to understand that this cannot happen. And the NBA is a private, it's its own private, institution, like, so per se. Like it's not something. It's just private. So if the NBA doesn't want you to have guns in live videos, then they have the right to suspend you as an NBA. It's a private league. It's private. So, like, even though Ja Morant technically, and I'm not sure what Ja Morant was at when this IG live video came out. I'm not sure where he was, but technically, depending on the state that he was in, he really didn't break any laws. But the NBA is a private league, so the NBA can suspend players for whatever they want to suspend you for. Same with the NFL. Even if you don't break a law, the NFL and the NBA, they both have a right to suspend you if you're doing anything that compromises their brand. They're their own private organization. I want everybody to understand that. So, yes, Ja Morant could have been in a state where you are able to carry firearms around even without having a gun license. But if the NBA feels like you are tarnishing their brand, they have a right to suspend Ja Morant or any player in that matter. So I want everybody to understand that. But I feel like they did Ja a disservice by basically giving him a slap on the wrist with the 8-game suspension and the fake counseling session that he attended in Florida. That was all BS. I want everybody to know that that was complete BS. Ja Morant wasn't in no damn counseling center. That was all smoke and mirrors, and they did not address the real issue. And that's why we have this issue here still remaining today. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say is I see people on social media all over Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. They're saying that Ja Morant needs to basically cut off all of his friends that's in his inner circle. While I do believe that that is partially true, we can't continue to blame Ja Morant's friends. At some point, we got to hold Ja Morant accountable. We got to hold Ja Morant accountable. And he is the star that is in the NBA. It's Ja Morant that is the franchise player for the Memphis Grizzlies, one of the best young players that we have in the NBA. His friends, they don't have anything to lose. They ain't got nothing to lose. It's Ja Morant that has to understand that it's a certain way that I have to conduct myself so I can continue to make a lot of money and play a sport that I love. That's on Ja Morant. That's not on his friends to have to understand and recognize. That's on Ja Morant. I guarantee you that if Ja Morant tells his friends, hey, no more guns, no more going live on IG and putting guns in videos, I guarantee his friends would stop going live and having guns in videos. I guarantee it. But in this particular video, his friend tried to put the camera down once he saw Morant have the gun in the passenger seat when he was holding the gun on the video. His friend tried to put the camera down, and Morant has the gun, and it's like, what are you doing, Ja? Like, what are you doing? Like that, like at this point, I don't even know if Ja Morant even cares. But the reason why Ja Morant doesn't care is because the Grizzlies organization in the NBA gave him a slap on the wrist the first time. They gave him a slap on the wrist the first time. But there's been multiple incidents that have taken place involving Ja Morant. He had an incident at the mall. His mom had got into it or something with a Finish Line employee. He had an incident at a school. I believe something involving his sister. But time and time again, he's finding himself in these situations. And I said before, when he got into the first incident, I said, I understand why him being an NBA player, being young, I understand why he's carrying around a gun. I get it. The man plays for the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis is one of the worst cities in America when it comes to crime. It's a dangerous city to live in. RIP to Young Dolph. They killed their own in Young Dolph. RIP to Young Dolph. So I understand why Ja Morant may carry around a firearm. I get it. The problem is pressing the live button on IG. That's the issue. And also, Ja Morant has to have security around him. You got to have security around. That way, you don't have to necessarily even carry a firearm because your security has firearms on them. So that's something else Ja Morant has to consider. You got to consider hiring a security team around him so that way he doesn't have himself in these positions where he's carrying a gun around. But I want to be very, very clear. I believe it was stupid for Ja Morant to go live and have a gun in the IG live video. But I don't have an issue with Morant personally carrying around a firearm. He lives in Memphis. I get it. I understand. Young, black, in Memphis, an NBA star. And we know that when you are at a certain level in life, whatever field you're in, whether you're a rapper, whether you are an NBA or NFL player, whatever it is, and you're a public figure, instantly you are a target. You are viewed as a target. So I understand why Ja Morant would feel like he needs to carry around a firearm. I get it 100%. You're a target when you have that stardom as an individual, whether it's rapping, you know, NBA player, football player, whatever it is. Whenever you reach a certain lifestyle or at a certain level in life, you become an instant target. So I get it. But the going live on IG is what was stupid. That was the dumb part on Ja Morant here again. But again, somebody in his circle, whether it's his father, and there's reports about how T. Morant, his father, while he did a tremendous job raising Ja Morant, people who know their family, they say that T. Morant is more like Ja Morant's friend than his father. Right now, T. Morant needs to be his father and sit his son down and let his son know you blowing this opportunity. You are literally blowing the bag, because Ja Morant would have been eligible this year had he made one of the all NBA teams. He would have been eligible to get, I don't know the exact amount, but he would have been eligible to receive a lot of money somewhere in the future. I'm not sure exactly the amount or what it is, but it was something that he would have been eligible for had he made an all NBA team. And he didn't make an all NBA team because he missed games this year and had to step away from the team. And I like the fact that, I'm going to say this too about Morant. I like the fact after they lost to the Lakers in the opening round of the playoffs, in the post-game press conference after Game 6, Morant took full responsibility for the Grizzlies and them basically underachieving as a basketball team. He said, I gotta be a better leader on and off the court. And yet, not even 3 weeks later, you seen on an IG live video, Ja, what's that about? You literally just said in the post-game press conference, in the immediate aftermath, after getting bounced by LeBron and AD in Game 6, how you have to be a better leader on and off the court. Yet, not even 3 weeks later, you in IG videos going live with guns again, but again, because he got a slap on the wrist the first time. At this point, Ja Morant, he seems to think that he's invincible. He seems to think that he's invincible. He can't get into trouble. And another thing that Morant got to look out for too, like, it's real individuals who are in the streets. And the one thing that I know about, you know, and you hear it all the time when you talk about people who are in the streets and stuff, people who are really in the streets and who are about that life, it's players and people like Ja Morant who they tell stay away from the streets. They don't want Ja Morant in the streets. Ja Morant has been given an opportunity that you get once, like it's rare. It's a rare opportunity. It's something that not everyone is granted. So you don't have to be on IG Live with guns and stuff. You don't have to do that, Ja. You are in a position to make a lot of money and position yourself to have your family set for generations. Real individuals who are in the streets and really doing stuff in the streets, they tell people like Ja Morant, even myself, they say, stay out the streets. You don't want to be in that lifestyle. And you hear Ja Morant on Instagram live videos and in the game doing gang signs, and he's not about that life. He ain't about that life. He grew up in a 2-parent household and had a lot of great things that took place for him when he grew up. Both his parents did a tremendous job raising him. So it's people it's guys that's in the streets right now that's thinking like, what the hell is wrong with him? They tell people all the time, if you ain't in the streets, people who are in the streets, they don't want you to become a part of that lifestyle. You made it. The goal is to make it. And you made it. And yet you still acting like this. Very disappointing in Ja Morant. And if I'm the commissioner for the NBA, if I'm Adam Silver, if I'm the Memphis Grizzlies organization, They got to set a precedent here for John Morant, and he needs to be suspended for at least 30 games for the start of next season. At least 30. That's the minimum. If they suspended John Morant for half the season next year, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But they got to send a message to Morant that you are not invincible, and the thing that you love the most can be taken away from you. It can be taken away from you, and that's basketball. And again, somebody in his family, in his inner circle, whether it's an uncle, cousin, his father, T. Morant, somebody has to sit him down and let him know, I'm going to just say it, you fucking up. You fucking up. Somebody in his inner circle needs to sit him down and let him know that he's blowing the bag. He's blowing the bag. He really, really is. And again, you don't want to be in that lifestyle, Ja. You don't. You got everything at your disposal, man. You do. You made it to the NBA. You got something that millions of individuals around America would kill. They would give up anything to have an opportunity that you have right now, being one of the young NBA stars. And you're tarnishing your brand when you continue to put yourself in these positions. So I expect the NBA to hand down a hefty suspension for John Morant, and they need to really, because at this point, this is just something. This is inexcusable at this point. I mean, and this ain't even been 3 months. It ain't even been 3 months. So I expect Adam Silver and the Memphis Grizzlies to hand John Morant a significant suspension, and I'm praying for this brother to get his act together, because I believe that he is one of the most electrifying young players that we have in today's game. And he has a chance to be the face of the NBA as an American if he can get his act together once LeBron James and Steph Curry retire. The face of the NBA could be John Morant, but he got to get his act together, and he got to surround himself with the right people. Everybody go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at Wise Guys _H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. And be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Wise Guys. These guys know sports. We're live on the Worldwide Sports Network. Everybody go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. Be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. Call to the show, 513-203-8655. 513-203-8655 is the number to dial. Any particular topic that you want to discuss, give me your NBA Finals predictions. Who comes out of the West? Who comes out of the East? Will it be Lakers versus the Celtics or Celtics versus the Nuggets? Heat versus the Lakers, Heat versus the Nuggets. Who you got? Who is your NBA Finals predictions? Call into the show and let me know what you got. I already said earlier on the show, my NBA Finals prediction is the Los Angeles Lakers and the Boston Celtics. LeBron James and Anthony Davis versus Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. That's my NBA Finals prediction, and that's what I got. Lakers, Celtics. And one of those two teams will win their 18th championship and hang banner number 18. That's what I currently have. But let's transition to the Bay Area, and let's talk about one of the teams that lost in the conference semifinals round. It is the Golden State Warriors. The Lakers beat the Warriors 4-2 in the conference semifinals. And Golden State's streak of 19 straight series wins versus Western Conference teams was snapped. Steph Curry had 32 points in game 6. So everyone's talking about the Warriors and if the dynasty is over. Draymond Green went on his podcast yesterday and he said that the Warriors dynasty is not over. And I'm hearing Nick Wright and other people who are saying that the Warriors are done. They have nowhere to go and they are no longer a championship contender. I 1,000% disagree. First and foremost, if I am the Golden State Warriors, the first thing the Warriors have to do is they got to figure out what Bob Myers is going to do. He is the general manager for the Warriors. He has done a tremendous job putting together this Warriors roster and done a great job during the dynasty of recruiting Kevin Durant to the Warriors. Also, bring in Andre Iguodala and Leandro Barbosa, David West, Kevon Looney. The list goes on players that Bob Myers has been able to acquire to be a part of this Warriors dynasty that features Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Now, we know the core is Steph, Klay, and Draymond. Just like with the Bulls, the core was Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman. With the Spurs, the core was Parker, Ginobili, Duncan. That is the Warriors core, Steph, Klay, and Draymond. If I'm the Warriors, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm bringing Draymond Green back. I think Draymond Green played well in the conference semifinals. In game 5, he had, I think, like 21 points. And against the Kings, he had a great 20-point performance as well in that series. And I thought Draymond Green can still play, and he's great in this Warriors system. I always say that I don't think that Draymond Green would be as effective with any other team in the NBA the way that he's effective with the Warriors. What he is with the Warriors, he would not be with another team. He's effective with the Warriors because of Steph and Klay and them being the greatest shooting backcourt in NBA history. And so the way Draymond Green is able to push the basketball up the floor, and he's not as great as he once was defensively, but Draymond Green can still defend. I would consider him one of the best defenders on this Warriors team. So I would bring back Draymond Green for sure. Klay struggled in the series against the Lakers. He struggled significantly. And I thought he was the reason why the Warriors lost. And everyone's blaming Jordan Poole, and I'm going to get to Jordan Poole in a minute. Jordan Poole was bad in the playoffs this year. Last year, he averaged 17 points per game. This year, he only averaged 11. But Klay Thompson has expectations. I got expectations for Klay. I don't have expectations for Jordan Poole. I've seen Klay Thompson have great and even better performances than Steph in pivotal playoff games in the past. He has the nickname Game 6 Clay for a reason. But in this series against the Lakers, he struggled. He couldn't get it in a rhythm shooting the ball. And he was one of the reasons why the Warriors lost. I wouldn't let go of Clay just yet, but I would ask Clay, A, to take a pay cut, and B, depending on how my team looks next year, I would consider having Clay come off the bench as a six man. So if Clay wants to remain a part of the Warriors team, he has to accept a pay cut, and B, a diminished role as a six man off the bench. Because I don't think we're ever going to see Clay play at the level that he played before the injuries. I think that was prime Clay. Like when the Warriors won the championship in 2015, and even the year when they lost to LeBron and the Cavs in 2016, Clay was at his best. He was at his best, and he was still pretty good when Kevin Durant came to Golden State. But after the injuries, Clay hasn't been the same. So if I'm the Warriors, I'm A, asking Clay to take a pay cut, B, asking him to take a diminished role coming off the bench as a six man. Now, the one player who I would trade if I am the Warriors is Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole, they gave Jordan Poole a 4-year, $128 million contract after winning the finals last year. And I feel like that was a mistake by the Warriors. That was a mistake. Jordan Poole hasn't been the same since Draymond punched him prior to the season. But during the regular season, he was okay. But in the postseason, he was awful. He was awful. And defensively, he's a liability at times. He's careless with the basketball. I would seriously try to see what I can get for Jordan Poole. And Kuminga is tough because they didn't really give Kuminga much minutes in the playoffs this year. I would see what the market is for a Jonathan Kuminga. I would try to see. I would keep Wiggins, though. I would keep Wiggins with the trio of Curry, Thompson, and Green. I would keep Wiggins a part of that trio. I think Wiggins just he was inconsistent when he came back. He didn't really get into a flow. He played well against the Grizzlies. I'm sorry, he played well against the Kings, but he didn't play well against the Lakers. I think the Warriors need size. I really, really feel like they need size. There are players like Karl Anthony Towns, maybe even Julius Randle that I would consider trading for if I'm the Warriors. Steph Curry is still in his prime. I still think Steph Curry is one of the top 5 players in the NBA. Steve Kerr is one of the best coaches still in the NBA. But I would move Jordan Poole, and I would try to trade for Julius Randle or even a Karl Anthony Towns and add size to my team. I think that was what the Lakers were able to expose when they went up against the Warriors. The Warriors have no size. They have no size. And that's the problem with the Warriors right now. And if you want to compete for a championship, you're going up against big men like Nikola Jokic, like Anthony Davis. You need some size on your front line. So I would try to trade for Julius Randle or a Karl Anthony Towns. I'm going to get more into the Warriors in future shows, but I do believe that the Warriors are still a championship contender in the Western Conference, long as they got Steph Curry, who is one of the best players in the NBA. But I'm bringing back Draymond, and I'm bringing back Clay with the diminished role and asking him to take a pay cut, but I'm trading away Jordan Poole and trying to get my hands on Karl Anthony Towns or Julius Randle. Everybody go and follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_H. Also on Facebook, Wise Guys. And be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram at These Guys Know Sports. It's been a great, great show. Be on the lookout for the Wise Guys audio podcast. It's the conference finals. Lakers, Nuggets, Heat, Celtics for the rights to go to the NBA Finals. I got Lakers, Celtics in the NBA Finals. I'm signing off the Worldwide Sports Network. I'm Trey Larkins. Have a great night, everybody.